USA needed a bounce back game. England needed to win convincingly. England got their way today.
Yeah, they did. It almost felt like it was going to be that kind of a battle today. You knew England had to pull out all the stops. They win today, and they basically guaranteed their spot in. They do guarantee their spot in the Super Eight in their semis as long as they have a good run rate, and they did that. You knew they were going to come be aggressive, and the USA was just going to have to try and handle and weather the storm, which didn't do as well as I think me and you would have liked.
No, it really didn't. But this makes it so the next game in this group, in this Super 8 group, is a winner take all. West Indies, South Africa, whoever wins that advances. This has been a really great group. USA started off with a wonderful game against South Africa. We couldn't be more happy with how they played that game. They came just short. But as I always say, as long as you're having close games, especially USA at this point in time, as long as the games are close, as long as you're getting almost there consistently, which USA did throughout the tournament up until these last two games, USA was always right there at the end. If you can get the hang of having a close game, and then you can get the hang of winning a close game, and it will build a habit of winning that you can sustain. And USA took a couple, two, 3 steps back these last couple of games, and it's really tough to see. The game against West Indies, on one hand, you could say optimistically, oh, okay, that was just a fluke. You're going to lose games like that. Let's see. We'll see against England if it's really a fluke. And England just wanted to, they just had to advance. They're a very good team. And I didn't feel, there's not a lot to be optimistic about that game.
Yeah, I felt like it was gonna be a tough day straight away when we got to the ground, saw the teams warming up, and I was watching Harmeet and Nosh Bowl, and they were getting a lot of turn on that practice wicket just off to the left. Didn't get to see out the Rashid Bowl. By the time he got out there to do his warm ups, we were already doing some hits and whatever. But when I saw that turn, I said, man, if we don't get to bowl first, we could be in for a real tough time. And then when that coin flipped the other way, it was almost like it just felt written the way it was going to happen. But we saw Andres Carlos play a couple of nice shots, and it just felt again. You mentioned there isn't a lot that I'm like, wow, really good. They here, really good there. Couple of nice shots from a couple folks. Andres hit a nice six. Steven had a couple of boundaries. We had the classic one over the top of long off. Nitish Kumar in the one over had a couple of boundaries that were terrific down the ground. Aaron had a couple of fours. Corey had the swish hit that went for six. Harmeet hit the couple of boundaries, but there wasn't anything to write home about at that point. And I remember it was 11:11. You texted me 140 question mark, and it could have been, it looked like okay. I thought we could get to 130 if we just kept batting. If Harmeet and Corey could just keep on keeping, and then we saw Harmeet get out. Shadley comes in. Okay, not the worst thing in the world. Corey's on the strikers end, so we'll have to wait to see Shadley, and then Corey gets out. Then Ali gets out. And I sat there after Ali got out and said, is Shadley going to be stuck at not facing a single delivery at the non-strikers? And
Yeah.
sure enough, Nash LBW straight in front. Shadley made him review, and Sara cleaned up. And Chris Jordan has another hat trick for the third hat trick of this tournament, back-to-back days of this tournament. It was just clinical from England. I felt that 115 was a good spot to be in 17th over, considering where we started. And then Chris Jordan just made sure we never got past it. I mean, 4 wickets, not giving up a single run in that over. Chris Jordan back home in Barbados, having himself a day. So yeah, were there moments in that first innings? Yeah, but this wasn't a game where we're sitting here a lot like the South Africa game where it's like, oh my God, this was really great. Just you have to tighten these few things up. This just was a game to forget for the USA.
It was definitely a game to forget. And unlike against West Indies, where, wow, we just got through 3 overs of Akil Hussein, and then you like exhale. And then, of course, worse things happened after that. Similar to that, we had a decent power play. But unlike that, the overs of Adil Rashid seemed like they took forever. It felt like he was in there for 8 overs. They just couldn't do anything with him scoring wise. And when somebody who's used to taking wickets like he is working at such a low economy, you count the balls that they have left because every ball becomes a dangerous ball just because of the circumstances, not even just based on what they can do with it. They're a wicket taker, and we need to score, and that's a bad combination.
Yeah, it was that was my one worry, especially coming into a game where you knew England were going to be aggressive on both fronts of the ball. They weren't going to hide Adil Rashid. And again, as soon as that turn came out, I was like, all right, they're going to bowl him. They bowled Liam Livingston. Livingston took wickets. Yeah, but then you get out of that first innings and it's deflating, right? I think it was against the West Indies. I felt we still had some momentum because Ali Khan came and hit some boundaries and we just scooped up some runs at the back end. And that didn't result in a lot, but it accounts for something, right? Going into an innings with a little bit of momentum and hype. But coming off, you could just tell it was a little flat. England were up. Chris Jordan was as high as he could have gotten in front of his home crowd, take 4 wickets in an over. And we were just flat coming into that innings break. And you knew it was going to take something really special with the ball. And I didn't know if something really special was going to be assisted by the wicket just because the sun had been beaten down on that surface, right? In the morning, it had
Right.
rained a little bit, covers were on, so it was so sticky. The sun baked that wicket down, made it a little bit easier to bat on. And you knew England was going to be ultra aggressive coming at Saurabh and Harmeet and company. They weren't going to let you get comfortable. They were going to take 2 overs off of you and get going. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what they did. Saurabh's first over went for 2 runs. The next one went for 19. Again, we can chop it up to a Phil Saw, Josh Butler masterclass. Yes. Do I think our bowling was perfect? No, but I don't. I think there was just a lot of pressure on the US on the bowlers, not enough runs on the board, and a free flowing English team, which this just suited their situation. Just the situation they've been in all tournament. They did it
Yeah.
against Oman. They're doing it against us. This is something that they're really accustomed to and really fond of doing.
Yeah, they're a very good team. They're an absolutely fantastic team. They played well in the field. They knew what they had to do. They've been there before. And you mentioned the wicket early on. We have the situation here where the ICC is clearly pandering to an Indian fan base having the games at the times that they're having them. And okay, there's a very good argument for that because of the massive percentage of viewers who are in South Asia watching cricket. Most of the consumers of cricket are in South Asia. Do you think that having games at this time at 10:30 in the morning makes the game less competitive as far as the wicket is concerned? Do you, because we have a situation in Morrisville where we have a lot of games that start at 5:30 in the evening or 5:30 or 6 to try to get them in before the lights have to be out by 10 o'clock. In that situation, you could argue that at this particular level, the difference between the first innings and the second innings might be so big that it makes the game less competitive.
I think there's an argument to be had. I think this is a problem that's plagued cricket for a while. You look at even in the IPL, right? In India, doesn't matter what time you play it at, the Indian audience is watching because you're in India. They had a do problem where if you bat second, you won the game, right? That was what happened a lot of the times. I think when you look at early in this tournament, Scotland batted well at 10:30 in the morning early this tournament against England at this very ground. I think it's less about the time. I think it was more about the fact that the rain came in before both USA games. So when you talk about the night game against West Indies, there was rainfall right up until coin toss time, right? And that affected that wicket because now it gets a little wet, it's got to sit under covers, and and now it's sticky. Same thing happened about an hour before the game. It rained off and on for 3 stints, and got a little wet, got a little sticky. Covers came on. Grounds crew worked really hard to make sure it was a good wicket. The wicket wasn't hiding many demons. It just added a little stick. I don't necessarily think it was the 10:30 that impacted the surface today. I think it was more just the rain happened to fall at the time that it did, and the toss went the way that it did,
Yeah.
and that hindered the USA.
As you said, throw it away, throw it in the trash. It's a shame that we ended on this note, but let's think about the tournament in general, how incredible it was that USA got this far. And I know that there are fans who have been drawn into cricket because of how USA have done. And I know because I'm actually in a group now in another Discord server, a second Discord server of new fans, and I'm seeing all the a couple hundred new fans in there trying to learn about the game and seeing new people come in. I'm a little bit worried they might feel a little discouraged about how USA have performed ultimately. once they got to that Super 8 stage, a very difficult position. You're talking about the top 8 performing teams in the world in cricket right now, and USA was in that group. That's absolutely amazing. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about how wonderful this tournament was.
I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, who would have, when we lost, it was disappointing. I was in the pool, actually at the party stand doing a segment when Josh Butler hit that final six to clinch it. Wasn't the worst place to discover that loss. But when I looked, I went back inside, I dried off, and then I came back out when the team was taking their photos. And I think that moment gave me a lot of real perspective because they took their photos, then they broke from the photo group, and the whole crowd that was left over started chanting USA. And you had whoever was left, that 200 people group that was left sat there and chanted USA and begged for Sarb Netravalkar to come over. And he took pictures with everybody for about 30 minutes. Aaron Jones sat there for about 40 minutes, signing everything that someone threw at him. Ali Khan came over. Andres Klaus came over. Shelly Van Skulkvik came over. Jesse Singh came over. Everyone came over and thanked the fans. And that was a cool moment. And when I heard all those, the USA chants, it gave the perspective of the whole tournament. The kind of the whole tournament storyline flashed before me. The We opened this tournament against Canada and we won because Aaron Jones hits 94 in Dallas and the whole crowd painted USA. An unbelievable scene. Who would have thought? That was unreal. Andres Carlos with the great innings as well. Ali Khan opened the World Cup in Dallas. He bowled the first ball of the first World Cup held in the United States. Then you beat Pakistan on that same ground thanks to Nash Kenjige doing what he does so well and Aaron Jones coming in and hitting boundaries at the end. Starting at the Volker taking wickets early and Steven Taylor with that great catch. Nitish Kumar hits the game tying four to send it to a super over. Saurabh in that super over was terrific. The stories that followed Dallas and the hype that followed that team was incredible. Now everyone's talking about the Oracle worker that just hoodwinked Pakistan. And then Saurabh goes and takes the scalps of Rohit and Virat Kohli in New York. And we push India in an incredible game on a tough surface, not a flat track that we had just easy time batting on. And on a tough surface, we were able to put together some runs and put together a fight against India. And we come to the Super Eights, and against South Africa, we gave them all that they could handle. And we're the only associate member in a Super Eight. Think about that. If Nate, again, Nate, if someone would have traveled back in time to a Big Innings recording in January and said to us, "Hey guys, on June 23rd, the USA's World Cup will end after in the Super Eights in Barbados," we would have told them they're crazy. They'd be lucky to get a game in Florida, right? That's the idea. Did it? They got to this point, and to hear the anthems played in Barbados 2 times, to hear the roar after the word brave. This team fought, they fought well, and they made everyone proud. And I think that this team did what no one, and I truly think no one thought they could do. I'm not sure they thought they could do it, to be honest with you, but they did it. And again, did it end the way we wanted it to? No. But this, like you mentioned, this World Cup was a World Cup to remember. And I'll come away with this World Cup with nothing but positive memories for the USA.
And I don't think I can top what you just said there. You put it in perspective, like you said, going back, we started this particular show in October. We've done a lot of other stuff together. We've done the minor league show together. We've done plenty of content for Major League together, post game shows. But if you followed USA Cricket along with us over the years, especially, and you said this is how this World Cup would end, with no preparation, really, basically 18 months of no games from 2022 to April of 2024. No T20 games. Of course, we had one-day games, but the format matters. And in the meantime, you look at what happened with Major League and minor league, how they've built T20 cricket in the USA. You and I both know that played a huge role in how the USA got to where they are right now. You and I both know how deep our pool is, how deep our player pool is. We have very good players here. And that was the frustrating thing for me was to see the team peter out because of lack of depth in the side. Really, I felt was a big part of it. They just ran out of guys. It seemed like to me. And when you know how deep our player pool is and you see our team running out of depth as the tournament goes on, this was not a short tournament. They played 7 games. They played 7 games coming into this too. So they played a lot of games. That's the frustrating thing to me. That's the big loss to me is that I don't feel like we really had the deepest roster, the deepest 15 that we could have had out there. That's the shame. Otherwise, let's not focus too much on the negative. We've done that in the past just because it's the truth. But yes, to see how well these guys did, I'm really proud to say I'm a USA fan. It's like the whole thing, like we followed the band before they were big type of
We
before
discovered USA cricket. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, we were watching USA cricket at the 9:30 club in DC before they played the Giant Stadium, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's great to see them get as far as they have, do as well as they have. It sets us up. These guys on the field of play have done more for cricket in the last 3 weeks than the governing body could possibly do, even if they were organized, even if they were a good governing body. These what they've done on the field of play is better than any organization can do on their own. And I think we have to remember that. We have to thank this particular group. We have to look at these guys. These guys are forever in the USA Cricket Hall of Fame, as far as I'm concerned. They've really drugged the team and drugged cricket into American dialogue, something that people never thought could happen. There are people at my job who are like, "Oh, Nate, USA won." They know I like cricket and they know I like USA cricket. They have no idea the depth of this, though. They have no idea that I'm sitting here right now have a good conversation with someone who was at the game yourself, and that I do this routinely. Most people don't know that, but just I'm just beside myself, so happy that and to have Andres Hopes near the top of the runs at this point in the tournament it just goes to show how good our cricketers are in the USA. He ended with a 151 strike rate. It's just I'm just really happy with how these guys have done. I think our future is bright. We know the depth in the country. We know what's coming up next, who's coming up next. We know the young players. These guys, I hope these young players are energized more than they've ever been before. I hope that they see a path into the team thanks to minor league, thanks to major league. And I hope that we can keep it meritocratic. I hope we can keep it so that the team makes sense. That's what we want to have. As long as our team makes sense going into any tournament, I think we're going to do a great job. I think we have the good players to make that happen. And the more people that get into cricket in the USA, the more people will demand that good things happen with the board and that the right things happen. And that's what I'm really excited about for the future of cricket in the USA.
Yeah, Nate, you mentioned the this team deserves to be in the USA Cricket Hall of Fame, quote unquote. It's like the kind of niche reference, but it's like the 1991 Buffalo Bills, that team, right? They didn't win the Super Bowl, but they finally got Buffalo to a point of relevancy, and the city threw them a parade anyway.
Yeah.
They lost to the New York Giants, your New York Giants, and so I know you're happy about that, but they got them to relevancy. They made people care, and they united the city around a team for the first time. And that's almost what this World Cup has felt. This team that was assembled and thrown together and said, go out there and play. United, which usually a pretty divided landscape of USA cricket fans, united them and then added new ones on. And I think they have this fan base now, this following that they wouldn't have had before. And you're right, the players deserve all the credit for this. The players are the reason that this is the way it is, and I'm happy for them. And what we also don't want to lose perspective of is that these players, they've ensured that the USA are playing in another World Cup. We've qualified for the 2026 T20 World Cup. We're in that by making the Super 8s, we're there. And you mentioned that depth in that young pool. I can't wait to see Carmine LaRue in the midst of this stuff. See guys like him in the midst. See guys like Sanjay Krishnamurthy come of age. Saite Jamukamala come of age and be inspired by this team and get back into that national setup and get back to that 11. I'm excited to see those guys. I saw a tweet from Akhilesh Bhatigam. You retweeted it where he said he can't wait to take wickets. He said, I'm going to take wickets for my country in a World Cup. Like that's what these guys have inspired. they've inspired these young guys. Could you imagine seeing a Yasir Mohammed in India and Sri Lanka? These kids, these young cricketers now in the States, have seen it and they want it just as badly because they know what comes with it.
Ali Sheikh. There's tons of great,
Yeah.
wonderful young athletic cricketers in this country who are the next wave. And we're going to see them in red, white, and blue. We're going to see them in maybe not the very next World Cup, but maybe the one after that. And maybe the next World Cup. Maybe Ali Sheikh is in the next World Cup. He was just outside of this team, I felt. I felt like you could make a justification to put him in the squad. We have a lot of good young players. We got the Olympics coming up in 2028. I think that this World Cup made a great case for USA being a part of that Olympics because it wasn't just a given. You don't automatically get an Olympics because you're a host. In every situation, there's a limited number of athletes that can be in an Olympics. And in this case, it builds a case to have us as the automatic host
Yeah.
member because we did so well. We made it to the final eight. That's terrific. But yes, whoever's watching us for the first time, which I don't know how many people tune in to us for the first time, we usually get pretty nerdy about it. But if you are, follow us to stay on top of those young players.
Mhm. Yeah, again, we have so many. They're so good, and we love covering them. We love to give them their flowers whenever we can. And yeah, again, what this World Cup has done, it's brought in so many new fans for the USA team because of how good the USA players have been. But it's all reinvigorated that thought of, all right, we're here for the long haul. This team can do something. And yeah, is this team gonna look I think this team's going to look a little different in 2026. Does Saurabh continue to play, or does he find his way out? Is Corey Anderson looking for another World Cup to play in under his belt? Is who's going to be around? Is Shadi Ben Skolpic looking to play in another World Cup? There's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of faces that can fill these roles. And I'm very excited to see this team, but just focusing on this unit again with you can talk about the lack of runs for some of these guys, or maybe the lack of wickets for others, or some inconsistencies here and there, and X, Y, and Z. There's plenty to talk about in terms of improvements. There's no way around that. But you talk about these 15 players and the three on the reserves, we'll put them in there. They did this. They are the reason that I will be scrolling through Instagram and this random person that I don't know, don't follow, doesn't talk about cricket usually, will make a post about cricket. Why these American influencers are talking about cricket. Why the great cricketer is talking about Saurabh Netravalkar in the USA team. These players did it. These players gained the respect of the world, and hats off to all of them. And again, I can't be happier with what they've done, and I can't congratulate them more on what they've done.
Yes, and I've been watching so many of these wonderful pods that I tend to consume as far as cricket is concerned, and seeing them saying the names of the players that we've been talking about for years, for literally for the last 3 4 years. It's been really awesome. It's been great to see people talking about Aaron Jones, Saurabh Netravalkar, Ali Nosh Kenjige. It's been great hearing Andres Host getting his recognition for being such a prolific batter that we know he is. Watching the Final Word podcast, watching them talk about USA, talking to some of these people in real life down in Florida, and seeing what they think about cricket in the US and how excited everybody in the cricket community really is about this World Cup. It's been an amazing World Cup. I want to say also, ICC Digital has done an incredible job. They've done such an amazing job. I love looking at Instagram now to see what they've got the next day after a really big game. Afghanistan in the locker room celebrating after beating Australia. South Africa celebrating after beating England. As American sports fans, this is something we take for granted with our sport is the ability of media to get right there in the locker room, to get right in the middle of the emotional aspect of the sport. That doesn't happen a lot with cricket, and it's happening this World Cup. So in yet another way, the World Cup feels like a real World Cup. It feels like the cricket has arrived. Not just USA cricket has arrived, but cricket has arrived. And that ICC digitals, the social media for the ICC is really meeting that standard that we'd love to see set for cricket. They're really meeting that standard. And I think bringing the fan inside and showing them how much this means to them is a whole brand new thing for cricket. It's like the test, that series, The Test, how great that was because it did the same thing. And now you've got the ICC digitals actually taking a hint from all these things and doing the exact same thing. I'm thrilled to see that. That's been absolutely just as exciting to me as seeing Americans care about cricket for the first time.
It's incredible. The social team has been awesome. The stories that have come out of it, the content has been terrific. I've loved the locker room stuff. I thought that's always been really cool. I think one of my favorite things to come out was the Stuart Law video where he's like just narrating this little vid, and I just thought that was excellent. There's great pieces, and like you mentioned, this World Cup has felt like we've had the 20 teams, and we, including the associate members, we've seen more access to the media, and I think we've just seen more people care about cricket, a cricket World Cup, than I think I've seen in a long time. Back in 2019, when I was in school talking about, oh my God, the ODI World Cup is going on. I was in India at that point, so I got to feel the fever there. But to see the fever here is cool too. Yeah, I this was just so exciting. How great was it to have in the USA too? We got to be a part of the USA game in terms of a game in the USA. That's pretty awesome. Something that I'll never forget. And we get to keep the ball rolling, Nate, because we got Major League coming down the pipeline right after this, July 5th. I'll be in Barbados until the 2nd, but July 5th, I can't wait till Major League, man.
Wow, man, you're gonna be there till the second, man. That is so good. So yeah, there's plenty of World Cup left. So I'll be definitely paying attention to that. My hope, my big hope right now is that the fans who are drawn into cricket because of this World Cup remain fans of USA. And yes, please watch the rest of the cup, see who wins, enjoy the rest of the World Cup, enjoy cricket whenever and wherever you can. But I hope that fans are drawn to Team USA, being supporters of USA as much as they are to cricket in general, if not more. But yeah, anyways, it's your birthday. Go have some fun. Go have some tapas with your buddies.
I appreciate it, man. No, it's 21 in Barbados. Who would have thought? But it was cool to get two USA games here. It's been awesome. I appreciate this. And 21 at the ground wasn't the worst thing in the world. It was pretty darn cool. But it was a pleasure, Nate, as always.
Yeah, and maybe you can find Joel out there to hang out with you, to pal around with you, and he'll give you some tips on what it's like to turn 30 when he's 25 or whatever.
Yeah, I saw him pushing the books on all the commentators and whatnot. So I got to get my hands on one of these books. I'm getting closer to the ages he's mentioning. So I think once I get to 25, I might have to get that book.
I can just tell you what it's like to,
That works.
no, you got to get Joel's book. I'm sure it's full of a lot of amusing things. He's just such a wonderful,
Joel,
hilarious.
this is just off the cuff, all right? So
Yeah.
if you wanted to sponsor beginnings, you could. We're giving you free promotions right now. I'm just letting
Joel, if those books are doing good, man, you can sponsor us.
you.
All right, man. Good talking to you. Thank you.
You as well, man.